Awesome, thank you. So I'm just for you to know, I am in Mexico, so I am right next to the modem because just let me know if I'm chopping in and chopping out. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, we can hear you fine.
Yes.
Oh, and can you see my screen?
We can.
Excellent. Alrighty. So first of all, I just want to say hi, everyone. It's so good to meet you all. I did not introduce myself before, but I am Angela, and my day today is my gratitude of the day. Thanking you. It's so good, and my day in the middle of nowhere, but I am flying to Toronto, back to Toronto tomorrow. So very keen to potentially see some of you here, and also the reason why I chose to speak at today's session is to really, I know there's a lot of hackathon evangelists out there, which is fantastic, but also to give you a bit of perspective about like my journey, our journey in terms of where we are, where we came from, and also seeing how we can involve all of you to activate and to enable innovation, especially in the Toronto area. So let me go to next. Okay. So one thing I did want to say is that creativity is thinking up new things, but innovation is doing things. I know a lot of the time, and I just want to inspire all of you. I think it was Kevin who said that, you know, in a rush situation, that's the only way to actually get things done. And so kind of like playing onto this, you know how like, just imagine you're back at college or university and you've got an assignment at the beginning of semester. But realistically, do we actually start our assessments or our assignments right then and there? Well, if you're like me, I start things right pretty much in the last minute. I do an all-nighter just to make sure that I have fully understood the assignment and I make sure that things get done. And for me, that's something that allows me to be creative in a really strange way. And so the beauty about hackathons is that, you know how sometimes we go to conferences and we listen, you know, even sessions like this, and we listen and we consume a lot of information. What we call innovation during hackathons is a way where you're actually putting yourself outside your comfort zone, you're working with different people, and you're actually creating something tangible to present or to showcase at the end. So I just want to encourage you all, if you have that idea at the back of your mind, if there's something that you're like, oh my goodness, will be such a great idea to pursue, one thing to think about is to ask yourself, what is that problem we're solving? What is that value that we're providing to customers? And by doing these things and by challenging yourself, this is where innovation grows in a really magical way. So let me tell you a little bit about how I first got into hackathons. I know some people are out in whoop whoop or like in the middle of nowhere in the country. I think that was Kim. So for me, going to my first hackathon was quite a strange experience. I had finished university. I'd done a lot of freelancing. I did not study engineering or IT or anything technical from that matter. But I think at that time, I was working at Cancer Council for New South Wales, so back in Australia, and that's where I was born and raised. And so I was pretty much looking for a full-time role where I can just have stable income, but also make a difference in people's lives. And so working at Cancer Council allowed me to just get broader perspective on cancer patients and not only supporting them, but also their family and their friends as well. And so this really allowed me to just explore my horizons in a way. I had all these ideas just popping in my head about how we can raise more funding, how at the time I was doing food and lifestyle, so I had a strong network of cafes and restaurants, had really good relationships there. And so I went up to one of my friends who worked at my local university, and I was like, oh my gosh, it'll be so cool to develop an app to help all these cancer patients, maybe through research and giving discount vouchers and all this kind of stuff. I was a little bit of like a firework in a way. I was kind of exploding everywhere, but I wasn't really aiming for anything. And so she basically sat me down and was like, alrighty, let's do something. And so she had a friend who was running a hackathon that weekend. And so she said to me, Angela, you have no technical skills. You've never really run a business before. I think it'll be really great for you to get into an environment where you can meet other people, you can share your idea, you can really improve on it, and maybe, find and to look at some skills. And so I was like, okay, that sounds great. I mean, what am I going to lose? Like a day or two, a weekend. And so at this hackathon, this is a picture of me and my team there, where we, did some great activities and games and got to know one another. And the purpose of that was to really help a social cause. And so through this experience, there was a little boy here, I think he was like 11 years old at that time. So him and his mates drove like 3 hours to our hackathon and participated in that. Rachel in the middle, she had just graduated and was doing some work as a designer. And that was me, and there was me. I don't really have many skills, or I didn't think I have many skills. But it wasn't until I went into this hackathon that I was like, oh my goodness, there's such a big need in the not-for-profit area. I know I've got skills when it comes to communication and telling a good story. And so with my experience in the industry, with the not-for-profit sector and the food and lifestyle sector, I really harnessed what I knew to bring the best into what we had at the time with the team. And so, you know what, at the hackathon, I met all these mentors who were like startup founders. The founder of the Foundation of Young Australians was part of the judging panel. Samsung actually flew us, like all the teams in each of the states, together for the for the national finals. So it was just so great to meet all these great mentors that I still keep in touch with right now, and also to have this shared experience where you can actually do something out of nothing and really learn a lot about design thinking, about creating something for a cause, and also for the people around you. So I got super obsessed. And just to let you know, after this, I went to around 30 hackathons over 3 years. And that to me was my second university degree. A lot of people were kind of asking, they're like, oh, you're definitely a, programmer or front-end developer. And I'm like, hold on a second, I'm not, but I've learned so many skills throughout the process that I know basic, I know how to basically write my code and, develop an MVP. And it's really helped me, allow me gain a lot of skills. And so a lot of the time when we run hackathons and we do hackathons, the way that we explain it is that it's a short pressurized competition where ideas are designed, developed, deployed, and demonstrated. So essentially, you've got a weekend, traditionally, you've got a weekend time period where you get a challenge at the start. And then on Saturday, you kind of like bring everyone together, everyone forms their own team. I didn't know anyone when I was going to my first couple of hackathons. I just had to pitch myself and hustle hard to find another hipster and a hacker, and so just some people to be brought into the vision of what I wanted to do. And I think that was really essential, as that kind of helped me with my career and professional development as well. So I think ideas are great when it's, pitched by one person or someone had an initial idea, but it really becomes greater when people collaborate, they add on to it, you do customer development, customer engagement. And this is where the whole process of designing, what is that user experience, to developing it in a really short amount of time, and then hitting deploy or the green go button to ensure that, okay, it's live, and to get that immediate feedback from the judges, knowing that they are industry experts and they know and have seen what has been in the field. So for me, I've been to like fashion hackathons, like I know, biomedical hackathons. It's electrical engineering ones, ones on sustainable development goals, which is super popular, or the social determinants of health, which has been amazing. So I feel like I personally learned so much about different facets of the planet, of just people itself. So definitely something that's been super enriching for me. So I know this has been like hackathons are, not new to a lot of you on this call. So maybe with some engagement or interaction, were there any things that you really particularly liked about the hackathon? Maybe you can drop it in the comments or unmute yourself and we can share a little bit about it. If anyone wants to. Maybe I'll just carry on for the time being. So essentially what happens in a hackathon for us, a lot of people say, oh, it's about the technology and about the tech. For us, yes, it is about the tech, but it's also about that ability to meet strangers and to be in an environment where you get to know them really well. I remember just going to hackathons, and I remember I was got into a team with this developer, and I asked him a question. I was like, so what makes you work the best during the evening? And he's like, I just need a bottle of milk. Just give me 2 liters of milk and I'll be still going for the whole night. And that's exactly what I did. I left at 10 p.m., came back the next day at 6 a.m. and he was still coding here. So I think it really brings out, I'm not sure if it's the best in people, but it's a really enriching experience to get to know some people and to really form great connections and friendships as well. Second thing, it's about empathy mapping, and empathy is so important. A lot of the way and how I describe this is empathy happens when you're putting yourself into someone else's shoes. So for example, traffic in Toronto sucks. There's always a lot of traffic coming into downtown or even going back, driving back home. I've lived it and breathed it and it really sucks. So, just imagine someone just cuts into your lane when you're just driving slowly back home and you're like, oh my goodness, why are they cutting through to me? Oh man. And so what you need to maybe think about is just stepping back, breathing for a little and reflecting on why this experience happened. Is there someone in the car that just went through an injury, for example, so they're rushing to hospital? You're just going home, right? Or is it that, there's been I don't know. There's a lot of different kind of factors in there that you may not have considered. So just understanding what that empathy comes from is super important. Thirdly, C stands for creative thinking. So with the way that the brain works, it does take around 5 to 7 minutes for it to really activate and to think beyond the operational side of things and just to solve immediate problems. So when you're thinking about creative thinking, having that 2 to 3 day duration is so helpful because that allows your brain to sleep on it and to really digest the information that you've received. So I've been to hackathons where I've gone in, say on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, we're bam, we're going to switch our idea and pivot very quickly because we just had a light bulb moment. And it's okay. It's part of the journey and that's part of the experience. And then hacking solutions. So hacking, according to Mark Zuckerberg, is the quick implementation of ideas. So absolutely putting something together, stringing things together. This can be in the form of hardware, software, digital solutions, but using this time, and I encourage the majority of the time of the hackathon, using a full day, 24 hours at least, to string something together to show off your skills and the talents that you have is also really enriching when it all kind of comes together and everyone in the team has done a brilliant job and making something happen. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Hack Toronto, which is coming up this weekend. A lot of the time when it comes to going to hackathons, it really falls back on 3 criteria that ensures success. So this is all based on design thinking frameworks, such as with the desirability side, feasibility, and viability. So I just wanted to put this out there because I know a lot of people go into a hackathon experience going yeah, I want to win, I want to hit on all the points and grab an award, and that's amazing. I think everyone is a winner during hackathons, especially if you've completed something, you've made friends, you've upskilled yourself. Then there's also this criteria of really trying to see whether or not your idea or your team can move forward. So I guess each one of these, desirability is all around the customer. So what are their needs? What are their pain points? What do they value? And what really entice them to use what you have? So this all comes to the why. The feasibility is all around, I guess, the team efforts. So looking to see what have you developed over the weekend or during the hackathon period. You know, is there capability for you and your team to move it to the next round or to continue it over the next 6 months? And then viability, which is more around the business model side of things. So how would you acquire customers, the go-to-market strategy? Do your teammates have the right people or knowledge and network to bring people together? So these are the three kind of common criteria that we normally see at hackathons. And so I just wanted to pose this question to everyone here. You may have heard me say, oh, this is what a hipster will do, a hustler will do, or a hacker will do. So basically, when it comes to formulating a team at a hackathon, it really comes down to what we call the minimum viable team. So this is kind of like the minimum, the skills that are required to launch that minimum viable product. So minimum viable products meaning the skeletons that you need to develop or just go live so that the customer can, just see and utilize what the top features and functions are. So hipster is more the person who manages that creative side, was that customer experience, and that really deep dives into that desirability side of the judging criteria. Then you have the hacker. And this is the problem solver, potentially the programmer who actually puts together that minimum viable product. And so that with the hipster and the hustler, working together, and that kind of calls on to the feasibility side. And then the hustler puts together that business model, that pitch, that presentation that you'll display to a panel of judges. And this hustler kind of aspect calls on to more the viability side of the judging criteria. So there's a lot of kind of thought into this. If you look at even the Ubers of the world, or a lot of startups such as Airbnb, a lot of their founders have actually put labels on themselves as these hipsters, hackers, and hustlers, and that's how they firstly created their own business. So maybe put in the chat here if you call yourself a hipster, a hacker, or a hustler, or all three of them. Personally, I am more of a hustler / hipster. That's kind of, my strengths and my skill set. So very keen to see what all of you have, and potentially we can make some teams out of this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Toronto, and I know Civic Tech is so great when it comes to looking at, our people and what we can do for this city. So the challenge topic that we'll be utilizing is around how we ensure diversity and inclusive culture in and around the workplace. So this is very prevalent to us right now. This has not been officially launched yet, so just keep this to yourself right now. We have our information session coming up on Thursday, and we have specific challenges if you get stuck on this challenge topic. So, there's been a lot of layoffs at Shopify, at DoorDash, my friends there as well. So a lot of the time, even in the workplaces that I've gone through, there's been a lot of bullying, a lot of people saying that I won't succeed because I'm not technical, or I am female, or I'm young. So I think a lot of this, I have a lot of passion around this topic, and knowing that with all that's happening, I know there's a recession coming up, we are really looking at how we can help better our community and support. And I really want to see how we can support one another around this challenge topic. So that's kind of the challenge for Hack Toronto that's coming up this weekend. So before I kind of finish up here, I did want to touch on this hacker mindset, because a lot of people come to me and they go, Angela, I have nothing to provide or give at hackathons. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a problem solver. I don't know how to put code kind of fit me hackathons together. And I just say, you know what? Just have an open mindset. Make sure that you're thinking in a way that you're open to meeting other people, because I used to go to hackathons 10 years ago when I went to my first hackathon, and there was just a room full of developers, and none of them had industry experience or work experience. They didn't really know what problems there were out in the public, And a lot of them were just looking for ideas. So even if you have an idea, if you've had experience working, or if you know of anyone, even around you, maybe your family members or your friends who have a problem right now, just ask them the question, do you have any problems that we can solve during a hackathon? And so when it comes to looking at the hacker mindset, we really endorse the culture of FLEARNing. So FLEARNing, it's not the F word, but it's all about having fun learning. So, a lot of the time, having that fun mentality will help you succeed, and making sure that you have a positive mindset. So ultimately, this kind of spells out focus on the why, understands your vision, understand why you are here, on this planet, and what kind of skill sets that you have. And having that and asking yourself this question before you go to a hackathon will just make you more self-aware and also aware of those around you as well. Secondly, is just love what you do. So before going to a hackathon, I always think about the skills that I have, anything that I want to give, and anything that I want to learn. So when I first started to go to hackathons, I didn't know anything about tech or apps and websites and all that kind of thing. So I really wanted to focus myself on learning on those different skill sets. So, as I kind of grew over time, was about the network and finding mentors and leaders and advisors that I could look upwards towards. And then it kind of went into emerging technologies, so learning about like blockchain and VR and that kind of thing. E stands for engage with customers. So as I said, the best and most powerful way to get validation that your idea or something that you're working on will work is talking to customers, especially paying customers. And then here is to ask questions. So don't be afraid to put your hand up, ask those questions, because the more that you ask, the more that you'll learn. And then respond with agility. So, even if you have a preconceived solution in your mind, don't be afraid to kind of step back and ask yourself, okay, is this really the right path to go through? Or should I do a little pivot to see how I can better improve what we have? And then the last point here is to network vigorously. Whenever I go to hackathons, I add all the judges, all the mentors, all the speakers on LinkedIn, because I know they have deep expertise in what they do. And so even now I go back and I lean on them. I go, hey, I've got a question around sales. I've got a question around finance. And once I kind of do a little search on my LinkedIn search, I know exactly who to talk to. So that has really worked in my favor. And I just wanted to share that with everyone here. So the last thing is Hack Toronto is coming up this weekend. It's a great opportunity to network with other people and to upskill yourselves. I think one thing to keep in, great thing is that we've got over 150 people registered at this already, and this will be held at the Amazon offices in downtown. There'll be free parking. We'll also be supplying some food as well. So feel free to scan this QR code, and we'd love to see everyone here. So I just wanted to end with, I know a lot of people love talking and sharing their opinions, but how about we look at this new lens of testing prototypes? So the more prototypes that we test, the closer that we'll get to really working towards our vision and our mission. So that's pretty much it from me. Thank you so much for having me, Gabe, and the team and the Civic Tech team. If you have any questions, I can stop sharing my screen and I can pass it back to the team.